Why is Barack Obama going to Antarctica? Something strange is happening around Antarctica as negotiations for a new financial system. Benjamin Fulford text, dated March 22, 2016. Something is happening around Antarctica these days that is shrouded in secrecy, but is also attracting a lot of heavy hitters. The visit to Antarctica by Patriarch Kirill of Russia, the head of the Russian Orthodox Church, in February was the first sign of something unusual happening. Now, this week, U.S. presidential spokesperson Barack Obama will be visiting the Nazi South American headquarters in Bariloche in southern Argentina. Just before the Obama visit, it was revealed that China has built a giant space exploration base in southern Argentina following this revelation. The Argentine government reported that they sank a Chinese fishing boat near a restricted area off the coast of southern Argentina. Pentagon sources say the boat was probably a Chinese spy vessel, since a normal fishing vessel would have responded to Argentine warnings. Furthermore, the heavy-handed Khazarian mafia attempt to overthrow the government of Brazil has now failed, depriving the Khazarian mafia of Brazil as a place to flee now that the American people are waking up to the crimes that have been committed against them, CIA sources in South America say. Now CIA sources in Asia are saying their connections, who are above the government, are all flying south this week and hinted strongly that south referred to Antarctica. This is all very interesting because years ago, Paul Lane, a source in Pentagon military intelligence, told this writer the then state-of-the-art UK guided missile destroyer HMS Sheffield had been captured by Nazis operating out of an undersea base in the region. The Sheffield was supposedly sunk in 1982 during Falklands War between Argentina and the UK by an Exocet missile. This increase in high secret activity in the southern hemisphere near Antarctica is somehow connected to ongoing negotiations over a gold mine in Papua New Guinea that Lane also indicated was the location of a Nazi secret base. America's top spy, James Clapper, flew to Australia last week in what Australia media reports describe as a secret visit. One topic of discussion is the revelation a Chinese company has acquired a 99-year lease on an Australian harbour at Darwin that includes Australian naval facilities. However, there is also a very different agenda being discussed connected to gold and secret bases. CIA sources in Asia say that also present at the meeting were top Indonesian and Australian military officials. At one level, the discussions are about allowing the U.S. military to station a fleet around Badua Island close to the South China Sea. At another level, the negotiations are also about giant new gold and platinum reserves found in the same general area as the giant Freeport McMoran mine. A secret base is located there, Indonesian sources say. Indonesia President Joko Widodo is also expected to visit this week the Indonesian Equator Monument that's supposed to be the location of a giant gold stash, the sources say. The U.S. military is keen to build a giant new harbor there, in part as a cover for a gold recovery operation, CIA sources say. Meanwhile, the Asian side has revealed more details about a gold transaction being negotiated in order to provide funding for the creation of a future planning agency. At present, 8,000 metric tons of gold worth about $320 billion at current market prices are on offer by the Asians at a 13% discount from the market price. Of this, 4,000 tons would come from Thailand and 4,000 tons from China, Chinese government sources say. Of the 13% discount, 10% would go towards setting up the planning agency and the remaining 3% would be for commissions, the government officials say. The gold on offer is what is known as black gold or off-ledger gold. This gold, mostly held by Asian royal families, has been kept out of the Western financial system because allowing the Asians to cash their gold would give them overwhelming financial and thus global power. In this deal, the Asians would get dollars and other hard currency that can be used around the world, while the gold-starved Westerners would be able to replenish their bullion coffers. As of this writing, no formal Western response has been received for the 8,000-ton offer, but one is expected soon. In related news, this writer participated in a taping of a Japanese Prime TV show due to be aired on March 31st that will show the Japanese public clear evidence of Western cabal's plans to kill 90% of the world's population. The show includes footage of the notorious Georgia Guidestones. The show also includes a segment discussing why Princess Diana was murdered and a segment about Native American contacts with possible aliens. This appears to be the beginning of some sort of disclosure process. It must be noted that this show must have been approved by U.S. Ambassador to Japan, Carolyn Kennedy. Kennedy's father, President John F. Kennedy, was murdered in part because he wanted to use Asian gold to take the U.S. dollar out of the control of the Khazarian mafia cabal. We are also now hearing from the U.S. military that the North Korean submarine sunk recently was actually an Israeli submarine that was sunk on March 11th in remembrance of Fukushima. However, Pentagon sources say Israel still has 2 more subs and much more to pay because 16 U.S. ships that aided Japan in Operation Tomodaichi after the 3/11 cleanup are still contaminated. Another Khazarian crime that is still to be fully punished is the downing of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. Pentagon sources say that Goldman Sachs may have been used to pay Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak $680 million to help cover up the hijacking of this plane to prevent the return home of 20 Chinese engineers working for Freescale Semiconductors. FBI Director Jim Comey visited China on March 14th, likely as a part of this probe that also involves Russian investigators, the sources said. Inside the U.S. as well, the takedown of the Khazarian mafia is proceeding at an accelerated pace. For one thing, the various death threats against Republican candidate Donald Trump are being firmly dealt with by the Secret Service and other enforcement authorities. The rent mobs being hired by George Soros are also being dealt with. The attacks on Hillary Clinton have also escalated to such an extent that even the New York Times propaganda rag has come out with stories that the Clintons handed over uranium mines in the U.S. to the Russians in tandem with donations to their foundations. Meanwhile, presidential spokesperson Barack Obama's attempt to place Khazarian Jew Merrick Garland on the Supreme Court to replace Antonin Scalia has created a huge backlash of opposition. Garland was involved in the cover-up of the Oklahoma City bombings and is in support of gun control. His appointment is opposed by Republicans, the Vatican, the military, the NRA, militia members, and many others. It is also as if he was selected deliberately to galvanize opposition to Khazarian mob rule. The other Khazarian mafias surrounding stronghold under attack is the widely reviled Monsanto Corporation. Their attempt to ban the labeling of GMO crops on foodstuffs has backfired, and now several major food makers, including General Mills and Campbell's Soup, have promised to label GMO foods. Furthermore, the FBI is now probing the various food poisoning outbreaks that affected the Chipotle fast food chain after it announced it was going GMO-free. Initial evidence is pointing to Monsanto goons as being the culprits, FBI sources say. In the Middle East, meanwhile, the UN and the US have begun to openly call Turkish and Saudi Arabian attacks war crimes and genocide. This paves the way for a major military campaign to clean up that troubled region once and for all. Turkish President Recep Erdogan seems to be losing control of his senses under the pressure, as evidenced by recent statements calling journalists and politicians terrorists. The Turkish military know they will have to dump him if they are to save their country from dismemberment. It may be already too late for the Saudi Arabia to do the same. A Saudi prince who was involved in the attempt to offer the White Dragon Society $25 trillion to go away, once admitted, quote, "We have been obeying them for so long," unquote, that his country's rulers could not contemplate any other course. The them was referring to the Khazarian mob, but in context he was clearly referring to something even more ancient and evil. This is the human slaver guild known to history as the Hyksos, who worshipped a goat-faced being with a forked tail we refer to as Satan. Certainly the recent actions of the Saudis, such as bombing markets and killing innocent people, can only be described as satanic. On the final note, Russian sources say Pope Francis is planning to make a major announcement, possibly in May, and then retire. While experience has taught us to be very wary of specific dates or deadlines, it's undeniable that major world changes are taking place. The WDS, for its part, will make some sort of announcement if and when it sees the actual physical gold mentioned. I'll leave a link below for you for this.